It's the circle of life. So yeah, I just thought, considering how you all caught me first time, I might as well just continue on with this gag. Anyway, welcome to day two of my Yorkshire blog. So let's just get on with it. Oh wait, it's that way. Alright everyone, welcome now to the Underground Gallery of Bharti Kaher and the exhibition Alchemies, yes. Now in this exhibit, I must point out a word of warning. In this artwork we shall see a bunch of following artworks. Although modern artwork and a timepiece in terms of style, it is also very obviously not suited for everyone should you wish your children not to see artwork that includes nudity. You know, I should just be blunt next time. Inside we shall see a variety of different artworks, some of which including the Death Room, Bloodline, and many more general ones to come, which I'll remember better at that time. Also, apologies in advance if there's any problems with my voice, because this place echoes a lot. Bharti Kaher has the unique trait of being able to take ordinary things and create them into a spiral of creations. If we take a look above us, here we have Bloodline that appears to have been directly made for the players, though it's just an assumption. Connected all the way to the wall and progressing 50 meters along the whole corridor, stretching towards the end. And it consists of 20,000 red and black glass bangles, which is impressive and also bizarre for equal terms at the same time. To the artist's description, they form the lifeblood of her exhibit room and appear to represent that this place must be breathing, considering there's blood here, or something like that. Now this art piece is, well, whatever you class it actually, is a representation of everything else to be seen, whether it's inside or outside, on the bizarre and imaginative mind that Kerr comes up with to describe her creations, which primarily is based around the female characteristics and lives. On a side note, me and a help guide came up with two different ways to interpret this. One being as if all her artwork are all one family and share a bloodline, pun intended, considering most of the artwork here are female figures. The other option might reflect how she moved to India, maybe being more connected to there. Fun fact. No fun fact. Oops. In this room, we're presented with 6 sculptures made out of plasterine, and each are based off someone Bharati knew from Kolkata, India. The reason why we are presented with a display like this is to learn and understand their lives as sex workers and vulnerabilities, while also recognizing their strengths in finding a way through what life is like for them. When Kahir mentions I like her work, we're all many selves at one time. I feel this is one side to them and see room for there to be new other sides to their story right now or in due time to come. Amusing fact. One of the funny things about this piece is that, for understandable reasons, people will walk past and like, nope, I'm just going to take my kids and go elsewhere. Don't mind me. Second, actual fun fact. I see her use a plasticine to make models as a way to draw the very energy of who she's recreating into their artworks, referencing Ancient Egypt where they believed the death masks would contain the spirits of deceased. So Kerr also commends the ladies on their individual strengths as they continue on to strive a purpose and a life worth living. Maybe not so in the job that they have taken pathwise, but just to support the ones that she cares and loves the most for, and hopefully to give them a better future than what they could ever live. What's fascinating about this is that this, from how I see it, is like the first doorway of many others to come. This could be like all the other art pieces in here with all their funny shapes and styles and unique individual appearances. This is like one form of the ladies, and if given the opportunity, you could see something else that's not just a concept of what men may be trying to portray in them, but many different forms and selves of them. Gaze into the vortex, and what do you see? Art, hope, mystery, or potential salvation? If you guess mystery, then you're more or less correct in terms of art and the purpose of its design. Here we have virus, although in my opinion it should have been called vortex due to its passageway appearance, which is partly in terms of its design, where it could either be a portal, a passageway, a womb, guessing because we're talking about females here, and other ways described, although really anything else involves a passageway. Since 2010, Kahar has been making a series of predictions, and each one that follows involves a particular coloured ring, as we see here. Although I was told that I can't remember the full story, the golden glow and brightness that you would get with India inspired the artistic colour choice for this year's version, edition of Virus. Uh, I assure you, although it's somewhat pale on your end, it is definitely a lot more brighter to my end. Also believing to be inspired because we're talking a lot here in this collection and in individual with these ladies and their origins, background, as to why she chose to use an Indian orange colour. From here, within the sacred treasure box, we have a few remaining circles left over that were not to be used on on Spiral, that will one day be locked away within the very box that we see below us, with the very deep details of what this year, of what she predicted on this year. Every year up until 2039, Kahir has made a series of predictions of what will happen on the following year that reflect a variety of different subject examples, some of which are okay. So we're clear. It's not actually all about viruses. I don't actually know why it's called that in particular. Oh wait, I know why. It's because just like a virus, there's always going to be a little part left over. Hence why we have these circles left over from the central art piece that were never used. So something like that. But in terms of examples, one part talks about which has become true in our current year, and how there is a lot of problems now with AI creating its own art and music. Here we have the death room, made without a roof for safety concerns, I assume, over how it's made and its size. Oops, bit tight here. So Coher used 10 tons of bangles melted down to form these solid, black and containing bricks, which form this enclosed confinement. The idea around the design comes from the 2002 Gujarat riots in India, believing to be started from a train fire in Godhra, and also, my opinion, as it's India, conflicts there can be confusing. By that I mean to understand everything else that happened leading up to the point in history. Of the estimates, what I've learned here and from my sources, roughly 1,000 females were lost during this time, lasting in just 3 days. And it appears the art reflects the surrounding space female voices were confined to. In here we have the display sets that most will recognize from reading into this online. Definition on alchemy can be found on my webpage. Using the fictional fantasy magic of alchemy, but hard to transform the materials she has come across into artwork that speaks and tell their own story. Like that headless lady that's like a plant and possibly holding her skill in a Shakespeare manner. Maybe this figure likes theatre and gardening? Let's focus on another one. The shape resembles ancient stone artwork where the arms are absent and has another head where the hair normally is, which appears fused with the one of a cow. Maybe this has something to do with a cattle farmer? Yeah, I'm out of ideas.
In basics, whether portrayed as a mother or agent slave to men, it's clear that they rely on her for assistance and whatever that applies to them. The shape of the female is a mystery to me, however. Doing a rough analysis beforehand, and before I delve deeper into understanding lore, maybe with all these artworks, and more or less with 6 women, the intention is to encourage and explore our full potential in what we do, who we are, and how we choose to express ourselves. The artworks portray the freedom humanity utilizes on to express ourselves in so many ways, to be so many different forms of ourselves at any time. Side note, where we get inspiration and ideas tends to come from the sights and scenes around us, making us containers for a range of experiences and emotions. Take your favorite YouTube artist, for example. Most would naturally admire something associated with them, and then change an aspect of your works, or yourself, inspired by that thought.
Okay, so we have now been ejected from the museum. I have taken longer than necessary today in trying to research Kaher, which slowly became my main focus. Thankfully, I can salvage from all of this and still make it all work out. So hopefully you will have not noticed. So now we can get on with the rest of the day and what I can still salvage. Now we shall have a look outside of Yorkshire. Well, by that I mean more of Caher, of course. This one's called Intermediary Family. There's two ways of how you could describe this. Well, or in my opinion, one, either the most giant center figure represents the mother and her younger ones next to her, or it could also, as a theory, represent younger versions of herself. Because in the I'm going to call it the bio room where I learned about what was it called? It's in my notes here somewhere. Ah, yes, on the video that showed the trick is living. It showed that she, in her workshop, broke up, splitted, and instead of a different, ironically fitting, looks like Indian work bits of pottery and whatever. So it appears that she's made a giant scale version of those artworks present here. No, wait, that's completely the case. And with this one, I basically feel like that the smallest one represents a younger version of the person, and each shape and height represents a different part of her time growing up to the adult where she is now. Relating back to the whole, you have multiple different parts of yourself all at the same time. I'm guessing with that artwork, if I'm correct, the term in this case is young, mid-age, and adulthood. This still seems to feel like one of those games where we have to guess what the thing is, and most people will typically think themselves when they know what it is. The follow, well, the fallow. As much as I appreciate art being modern, it's moments like this that really test the limits of my imagination before I go to sleep. Let's see. Hmm. Can we all just pretend that I say something clever and just move on? Here we have a mother figure along with her, probably at least a dozen children. Since we're talking about India, well, or referencing, I believe, this has got to be one of those kind of families that have large, well, that are known to have large quantities of them in one family tree. Otherwise, I really am stumped this time. Just like with all the other artworks, this one has had the assimilated fusion of multiple different young ones. I believe they're supposed to be all around her mother's embrace. Interesting thing about it is that of all the things I could think of to say to represent or resemble this is, well, it makes me think of one of those Indian mythical creatures that have multiple heads or something else or similar. Reminds me of an art piece last year called Buddha that was made of pretty tiles and stuff, and then 4 eyes. Ancestor.
Maybe the real purpose is that she's carrying
The generations that will come before her,
whether they're, intentionally connected to or not. If this is anything to consider, imagine the amount of titles this woman will hold due to this many faces she's supporting.
For the final one of the outdoor exhibits, which are all part of the same collection, this is one of the few of Caher's exhibit items that speaks to me the most, because although others will get put off by the fact that it's headless to begin with, assumingly, I can also see a lot in this artwork with everything I've learned so far. Potentially being a supporting mother, a bringer of income, a provider of food, or something else along the lines. Because on the top, according to what I understand, those are supposed to be bananas, which are attached to whatever is left of the head at this point. Interesting colour, despite everything else that has been seen so far. The Jinn is what we're calling this one as. Interesting name. There's also a possibility. I had it worked out, but then I lost the train of thought. So we got farmer as an option, a provider of food or income, raising a family. Maybe something to do with the tough balancing act of income and balancing the bills and paycheck incomes. I would say, does this represent anything poor? Maybe something due to the lack of face. I'm just honestly curious, but does the colour of the artwork have anything to do with the appearance of the person? The artwork also reminds me of how some people practice transporting heavy things amongst them, by which it means carrying baskets on their head, which is an incredible thing which I had no idea how conveniently fitting in this case women tend to pull that off. So with all these bananas on her head that are seemingly attached, could that also be a connection to all this? Guess I'll just have to see if I learn anything else to put on my blog. Okay, my tropical bananas, I have news to tell you. So I've messed up my times, which you probably might have guessed. So now I need to desperately rush back to where I was starting from with a slight detour, because it turns out the park, the park shuts at 6, but there's a place I want to learn about that's shuts at 5, and that place is the Wester something, which is where we saw those giant heads on my first day. But unfortunately, that shuts at 5 p.m. It feels like, so now I feel like Poseidon is chasing me down, and I'm surrounded by all this flocks of sheep. I know sheep, right? Who would have thought Poseidon would be into so much sheep? Just like they say in Hollywood, the show must go on. And I must desperately rush to get my content. I'm fine. Behold, this is a sheep. It has no other purpose in my video other than being a sheep. Hey, don't you dare to walk away from me when I'm talking to you. Oh, you actually kind of listen. I was looking at this and thinking to myself, could this have any connection to Kerr's descriptions when it comes to having multiple personalities to oneself, or wow, I really just forgotten what I just learned about. More to the point, I'm guessing for the sheep, if you were to look at it, all you would just see is, well, sheep. Right then, what's more important is that, yeah, I'm wasting time. All right, everyone, we made it. Whoa. Oh no. Oh god, it's closed. Oh well, no. I guess I'll just have to make do with the proper artwork that's just actually featured outside, because the rest is just inside. Lol. Another example right here in true artistry marvelness, I guess. So here we have Expressions in Blue by Felicity A. Leaf. I'm gonna kick myself again if someone one day corrects me on that. I'm not sure where she's from, but maybe as an inspiration or due to where she lives. For over 20 years, she has spent time living and working in Jingdezhen, China-based, a city known for its porcelain production, which is the same material of which we are presented with right here. Well, I mean, in terms of what it's made of, which is surprising and impressive, because normally this stuff is better known for as in making things like China, the very delicate pottery with its stunning colours and vibrantness, just like the usual vibrant methods in making. Felicity chose to use a variety of different blends of cobalt blue due to their bold and energetic. I'm sorry, I forgot about when I was talking about the rich energetic blue. I mean, the rich cobalt blue. She chose to use these colours due to its bold and energetic appearance with the natural energies and all that stuff I was just talking about. Shows how good my short-term memory is. Just wanted to clear that up because I forgot to. Now, more importantly, moving on these obelisks, she has blended the boundaries of old and new when it comes to pottery. The old being the choice of colour, where although despite how shiny it is, everyone will recognise it from China because of how classic it is as a timeless colour. But the new part also represents it as well. Tell me how many places in the world you'll ever find a towering obelisk of China, the delicate pottery of all things. Furthermore, how on earth is it screwed into place? Say it's about uh 1, 2, 3. It's about 1, 2, 3. It's about 3.5. My height, I believe it is. Sometimes I wish I was an art professor because then I could come up with more to talk about it in this stuff. I think I've concluded enough from these two back here. Also, as an update, turns out they're 5 meters in height. So what I'm going to do for the last, I say, 30 minutes until I need to rush home. Well, I mean back to the car to get out before I get washed away with the tide. I'm going to see if there's anything else I could scoop up as extra credit, like these, for instance, before I have to go. Just like I originally promised, where I'll finally, but briefly, be going past the pond. A little bit of a historical detour. Now, despite what you may think, this is not a crypt. Although you may think it is a crypt, this is actually a very old-fashioned styled well. Believe it or not, they used to feature a nice owl presented on top somewhere with a tablet and description inside that hereby reads, "This well was built by the Right Honourable Grace Countess of Ellington, widow of Sir Thomas Wentworth." After Sir Thomas Wentworth died in 1675, his wife, Lady Wentworth, had the life tenancy of Breton Hall, which I assume means inherit, because I don't know those fancy terms. Then she remarried to Alexander Montgomery Ellington. Then from then forth, she became known as Lady Ellington. Then, look, I'm not a history person, so just go along with it. The purpose of the well was to provide water to the local people, which I assume is connected to the local quarry, because I don't imagine people living on a estate, well, apart from the odd exceptions, like who was in the house next door, if that's connected, and to the local quarry miners. Apparently, like here and for most of the state, this is where all the stone used to come from. right, to spend enough time here. Of all the artwork I had to come across, I just had to come across something made of stairs. Made of stairs. Well, referencing some kind of wise old geezer, you work with what I got. The most interesting thing about this artwork is the fact that one day it will naturally return to the environment that they come from. But to take us all the way back, here we have David Nash, 71 steps in total, made in 2010. So the purpose of these steps is to connect to the lake from which we're from, all the way up to Oxley Bank, creating a connection path between two sides, from the valley, which I believe to be at the top, and the galleries, which will be in the opposite direction to where we're facing, I think. So yeah, we got 71 oak planks. I'm not sure what it means when you carefully chard and oil. Oh wait, I know what chard means. The charred and oiling part must be a mixture of preservation, but also to make it so that it slowly erodes and doesn't just go straight at once. Because charred things are a good source of nutrients when it comes to plants, and that backs up by the steps being embedded in 30 tons of coal. I just, where would you? You can't make this stuff up. Sometimes, although it's not the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. To create a useful artwork that will gradually erode as it is walked on. Interesting.
Well, let's see what all the fuss is about.
Okay, we got a stable connection. I am sorry about the sudden turn of events, although there wasn't much that was going to be else said anyway. But turns out Poseidon has caused me an internet failure, not because I ran out of power. So now I need to get my Hawaiian butt out of this place and back to my tropical island, so I can do tropical things. I definitely have a tropical island. I'm definitely not running out of things to say. My arts ward is definitely not in 8 days. Wait, what's an arts ward? That's Daniel's thing. Oh no, Ocean Statica. Bye bye.